JF Stretford Paddock. This is the live review. Aston Villa 2, Manchester United 2. I've got James Young, I've got Joe Swift with me. And that was pretty awful, wasn't it, to be honest with you? You're going to draw a game, that's the worst way to do it.
Yeah, being 2-0 up. I mean, to be fair, the first half we were all right. First 6 minutes we get the goal again, which is good. Same thing we did pretty much on Monday against Villa. But then second half, it was just absolutely embarrassing. Like, we've got no composure, no quality. James, you made a point about, let's see if the next time United string 5 passes together. I don't think we did it the whole second half. No. The ball gets played out, pinged around here, bounces off Fred, bounces off Matic, hits Elanga, hits Greenwood, hits Cavani. Like, we can't pass the ball, we can't keep possession, we can't make space for each other, we don't track back, we don't sprint enough, we don't work hard enough. We're being outworked by every single team we play, no matter how good they are. Our midfield has no positioning whatsoever. The amount of times it was Matic against 3 opposition players because Fred's playing as a second striker out of nowhere. There, by the way. Like, absolutely ridiculous, honestly. And it is a Wolves badge. We'll change that. Just awful performance. The second half, just getting completely dominated by a team that, you know, I know it's Gerrard and they've got Coutinho. These are a relatively poor mid-table team.
They're not. I mean, in terms of players, United should be. I mean, it sounds really obvious, but they should be beating these teams. And it's the same thing. Wolves, Villa, Newcastle. Norwich scrapes a result, but Rangnick's coming, and it's these run of games where he should be getting a result. He should be able to pick up points, get some more confidence in the players, push on, and maybe get a top 4 finish towards the end of the season. But it's just not happening. It's the exact same mistakes. You know, the game on Monday night, United scrapes 1-0. It wasn't a great performance, and the exact same issues were there today. The midfield was just empty. It couldn't string any passes together. It was so clear as what was going to happen. You know, United just sat back, invited pressure on them, 2-0 up, but it wasn't a comfortable 2-0 lead. You weren't thinking, right, it's 2-0 now, that's the end of that. Villa just kept on coming forward. If anything, Villa were the team that you almost expected United to be like, in the sense that when United were 2-0 up, you were expecting Villa to score because they were so on top. They had so much possession in that second half. United's 2 goals were, the second one was on the counter-attack. It was a nice goal, but it just wasn't good enough again.
Abhinav Verma in the super chat. Do get involved in the comments and the chat and hit that like button. You might not like that performance, but give the video a like. Abhinav Verma says, honestly, the amount of times I was screaming at Fred, enough is enough, and they're making cute passes in tiny areas when it should spread wide. Joe, Fred, he's had a little bit of a, if I can use this term, renaissance in a few fans' opinions over the last few weeks. I've given a bit of praise as well. But today was probably the sort of the things we don't like about Fred came to the front, didn't they? To the fore, we saw giving the ball away, being out of position, getting the wrong side of his man. Yeah. I mean, there's other players I'll get into in a minute, but just from Fred, from his point of view, it wasn't a great performance by him.
How long has he been at the club now? 4 years? 4 years?
Was it Mourinho's last season we signed him? 2018, sorry. 2018.
This is 4th season.
Going into his 4th season, is it? 3 or 4?
He's not good enough, is he? No. I don't think anyone can sit here and say he's good enough for Man United.
He's not consistent enough.
He's not consistent, and he can do it 1 week and then the next 3 weeks he's poor. He got took off at half-time against Newcastle. Shocking today. Basically playing as the second striker the whole game. And maybe he was told that. Maybe he was told to do that. But again, based on what he's done, more often than not over the last 4 years, I assume he wasn't told to do that. I assume he was just wandering about thinking...
Totally out of position.
Yeah, thinking that pressing is just being further up the pitch, and it isn't. And it's like he's left Matic to do everything defensively. The amount of times when, like you said, you're tracking back and he never gets the goal side of his man, ever. And they're just huge open spaces in the middle of the park that they can just play straight through. It's just embarrassing. And then when he does get near the man, he just steps in and they go past him. Steps in, gives a foul away. He doesn't jockey his man or shield or guide him in a certain direction. He sprints up to him and dives in. If he gets the ball, great. And if not, they're just past him. It just happens too often. He's not good enough.
The strange thing is, United played Villa on Monday, so they should have seen that and gone, well, let's not make the same mistakes again today. And they did the exact same thing.
No, we did against Villa in Old Trafford. There was big gaping holes in the midfield from a United point of view, and it was really frustrating me. And then today, we've seen exactly the same thing. If I was a midfielder for Villa, I think you'd won the lottery. Yeah. How we keep playing against Manchester United and you have so much space, getting the ball, looking over your shot, turning and running with it, no pressure, no one on you. And just these, one thing I don't like seeing with football sometimes is these sort of almost like showboating challenges. A challenge to show you're making a challenge. When you know you're not going to get there, it's just like, oh, look, I've dived in, but I couldn't make it.
Yeah, like with that ball that got played across the front of him when he's well out of position. He's like slid for it. And you're nowhere near that.
Matic isn't good enough as well.
I wanted to ask you about Nemanja Matic because there's people in the comments getting on about him. I will get to your super chats and comments in a minute. But what did you make of Nemanja Matic? Because there's a bit of debate going on here. Some people argue he's left on his own a lot. Others saying he's just not good enough. Others saying his legs have gone. Others saying we shouldn't still be relying on him. James, I'll start with you. What do you make of him?
He shouldn't be starting again. And this is a player that United signed under Mourinho that's gone through 3 different managers now. And it sort of sums up all the issues that United have got because they're just a mismatch of players signed by different managers who don't really fit together very well as a team. You know, look at the Wolves team that United played. They seemed so much more like a team. Everyone was on the same sort of hymn sheet. United are just all over the place.
Yeah. No.
What do you think, Jay?
I think it's the options we've got in it. That's the problem we've got. McTominay was out. We looked at him before the game kicks off and said, oh, Fred and Matic, okay, kind of makes sense. One thing that I did find a little bit odd is this thing of, I trust Donny van de Beek for the last 5 minutes, but I don't trust him for half an hour. I don't understand that. You either trust him or you don't. You either think he's good enough or you don't think he's good enough. And he's obviously brought him on there for the last 5 minutes, him and Lingard. They've not really had much of a chance. They had a sort of run as a corner.
I don't know why Lingard's still at the club,
but
to be honest.
I just want to, like, make a decision. That's what you do. You're not making a decision there. Bringing him on in the 88th minute isn't a decision. It's just a waste of time. So I think we need to see some more decisiveness from Ralph Rangnick. And also, in-game management needs to be better, not just in terms of substitutions, but if you've got Fred so far out the pitch, if that's what he's doing, we've just seen here that for Fernandes' second goal where I think Fred actually did do a bit of a press here.
Yeah, he wins the ball back high up and gets the
So that's the good parts of it. But when you've got a 2-goal cushion and you're under pressure, tell him to drop back then. Yeah. Say, okay, now you're going to have to drop back and help out because we're under the cosh here and we've got to defend this 2-goal cushion. There was none of that. I'll get in some of the super chats. Koth Mike says, want Ollie back. At least I still loved him when we were bad. Alpha Omega says, it's beyond me why we can't give Van der Beek a proper run of games just to see if we can spark something. Look at our midfield today, miles behind. Listen, James has said it. Joe said it. Obviously, you feel like there's something going on there in training or whatever. But one thing that doesn't make sense to me is giving him 7 minutes, whatever it was at the end of the game.
It's almost like there's a clause in his contracts or something like that.
I don't get that. He's either not up to it or he is. And if he is, then yeah, give him a chance. Humza Kaji says, Fred's bad outways, he's good. Sick of him, Zigbal in, or anyone else that can maintain possession. Biggest waste of space. Play like a fucking striker. Anadoy Dooza One says, the best basic expectation for any team is to work hard and always try, even if you're not a good player. It feels like this team do not do that. Sad. Sam Z says, let's not kid ourselves. We ain't getting top 4. Another write-off season. Do you feel that now? Do you feel that this league is getting away from us in terms of top 4?
United, it just seems like every team United playing against, it's the same issues. And if they're struggling against Newcastle and Villa and Wolves, then City, Chelsea, that are a lot more clinical with their chances.
The run we've got coming up in a little while. I shouldn't think. Zachary Purvey says, you can't tell me Galbraith, Levitt, Gardner, Medjbury, Laird, Williams, Mengi, Bernard would do any worse than this lot, and at least they have an upside. The last thing I want to do, though, is start wrecking youngsters, to be honest with you. I wouldn't start throwing in a load of youngsters. No. SG's been a member of the academy for 30 months. What's embarrassing is we've no ambition in the transfer market. Why haven't we signed a midfielder when we needed one since Andreas was playing? We've got it on the thumbnail there, Joe. Sign a midfielder. We've been talking about Matic and Fred and their faults. We've been talking about the fact that Donny van der Beek, for whatever reason, isn't getting a crack of the whip. Is a signing a midfielder the answer? Is that what we need to do now?
It's an
to
answer.
Save our season.
It's something. I mean, I don't know.
That sounds dramatic, but we're at a crossroads here because we could quite easily finish 8th or 7th or 8th.
The thing is, it sounds dead obvious. He's
got
got to be.
I don't think we'll sign a midfielder.
He's got to be better than the options that we currently have. And because United again have probably left it late, they'll either panic buy someone who won't be the answer to the problem, or they'll massively overpay for someone else. And I think in January as well, I just don't have faith in United to get it right with transfers again. You don't want them to shell out 60 million on a midfielder who's just going to be as average as everyone else. Because Fred wasn't cheap. I mean, he was what, 50 million from Shakhtar?
Yeah, that was. The thing is, right, we have this boom and bust thing with Fred, McTominay, almost weekly. Against Burnley, and I was tweeting pictures of Brian Robson coming off the pitch in 1984, saying that was like McTominay's performance. Against Wolves, he was terrible. Yeah. Fred, against Palace, best player on the pitch. Today, all over the gaff. We need some consistency.
Yeah. We need someone in there that go is brilliant most weeks or is very good most weeks. When's the last time we had that in midfield? Bruno, I know he's not. He plays in midfield, but he's not a midfielder, is he? He's an attacker who sort of comes back.
I will get to see chats in a minute as well.
When's the last time we had a midfielder who went, they're very good most weeks? Not since Carrick retired. Not since Michael Carrick retired, and obviously Scholes as well with him. Where you go, they're a good midfielder there. You know what you're getting.
They've gone through so many as well.
We just don't have it.
Like Schweinsteiger, Schneiderlin, just crap like that.
Yeah. Like we need to sign someone. I know it might not happen in January and this season, whatever. I don't think top four is out of the question just yet because all the teams in that top four fight drop a lot of points. That's why they're not, champions. So I wouldn't rule it out. But with performances like this, it's not going to happen. And whether it's January or not, we have to sign a midfielder if we want to take the next step. The players we have are not good enough to win trophies consistently in midfield. They're just not good enough.
I agree, to be honest with you. Jamie Kane says the problem is the midfield always has been. Yeah. We were talking about this team challenging at the end of the summer. Just go out and get a DM. Couldn't agree more. Andrew Knabel says Jay's spot on. Press was good. Space, a discipline or instruction issue, but also stamina. True. Seeing no stubs and too late is getting so tiring. We are being very negative because it is a disappointing result. I just want to focus on one big positive today. Bruno Fernandes got himself a brace. Been under a little bit of pressure. Been given the captain's armband. People have been saying, is he overrated? Is he a bit of a, sort of a penalty merchant? All this other drivel. 2 goals from any player is good, isn't it? What did you make of Bruno today? Do you think he needed those goals a little bit?
Yeah, he did. He did need them. And in the Champions League, I think his output's been pretty good. A lot of assists, getting us through the group with Ronaldo. Yeah. He's done all right. But like with everyone, he's dropped off a lot this season, and he's not by himself. And you almost think, is there something else going on here where all of our best players from last year are now crap? And I can't explain it because I've never seen this happen before.
I agree.
I've never seen it. Who are our best players last year?
Right.
Maguire, Rashford, Bruno.
Sure.
They were our best players last year. All of them have dropped off some. I think Bruno actually has dropped off less than the rest of them. Bruno's still getting the output. Today, getting 2 goals is great for him. Thought he had a good game. Not enough, obviously, to get us the 3 points, but that second goal, especially,
it reminded me of. Remember when Chelsea won the league under Mourinho the second time he was there, and the season after they came like 9th.
Yeah,
and Hazard
he
and
got
players
sacked,
like that.
I mean, he didn't get sacked because he kicked off. He got sacked like 16th when Hiddink came in. I'll get some of your super chats. Josh UFO and your chats as well. Josh UFO, it's starting to look a lot like we might finish below Arsenal the way we are playing. I hate to say it, but I think you're right, bro. It is beginning to look like that. They've got, they've still got the problems because they're still Arsenal. But
they'll always be Arsenal.
Yeah, they are getting a little bit of that together. Matt G says, don't deserve top 4. Let's finish 8th and give new boss full week on the training ground. Don't want that Europa Conference. I don't think I can cope with it. To finish 8th, that means we've got a lot more.
I actually wouldn't mind the Europa Conference League personally.
I don't know. I mean, you give the kids a run out.
The aways would be good fun.
Best says Ollie. WUL143 says Acaster talks well. I wonder who he's talking about. I think it's about you, Joe. People go. I think this is my.
How is this going to change, Jay? Because the thing is, and I keep coming back to this every week. After we play badly, we get a result or not. But we play badly.
Yeah.
This team did finish second, and as bad as this midfield is. Matic wasn't playing most weeks last week. Yeah. Scott McTominay and Fred aren't so old that they're getting worse year by year.
Yeah.
How have we gone from second best team in the league, and we were the second best team in the league. It wasn't lucky. There was no question
about January.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, that's what I mean. We were genuinely good, not good enough. To this,
do you know what though? There's it's almost like in many ways there was a bit of a perfect storm last season for us. And I praised Olin. You finish second, you deserve credit. You win the league, you deserve credit for it. You finish second, you deserve credit for getting that. I'm just saying there were certain things that helped us. For starters, I think there seemed to be a little bit when we were playing behind closed doors, a little bit of pressure's off. We seemed to just play better behind closed doors, away from home. That seemed to suit us. That away record, let me finish. That away record was just phenomenal. But it's not, as soon as the crowds are back in it, it's gone. There's also the fact that some of our rivals imploded. Chelsea sacked Frank Lampard for a reason. The Scousers lost 6 home league games on a spin, I think, which is unheard of. Yeah. So that plays into your hands. Arsenal were Arsenal, they had the usual thing of Tottenham, Jose. So that all helps us. Then we had these little purple patches. Pogba had 5 or 6 games where he was phenomenal. Eric Bailly had a 5-game run where he was like the best defender in the world for 5 games, then he got injured. You had Bruno having, again, another purple patch, banging in goals. Marcus did the same. Mason did it a little bit as well. You had all these little things that sort of fell into place. And then towards the end of the season, you can see things going a little bit wrong. We lost to Leicester, we lost to the Scousers, we lost to the Europa League final, so you and Gdansk. And then we brought that very end of season, those issues, into the new season. And the Ronaldo, Varane and Sancho signing, rather than helping us, it just seems to have amplified our problems. I'm not saying we shouldn't have signed them, but they just haven't helped out the way I thought they would.
What I was going to say was I think people forget that United were beating PSG and Leipzig last season. And you know, the players that were there, the performances, the inconsistencies almost still exist. Because like you were saying, I mean, towards the end of last season, you know, was it Fulham that were already relegated?
Fulham we drew. We took the lead and ended up drawing at home to Fulham with, all right, it wasn't a Pat's Old Trafford, but it was 10,000 fans in the ground. You know, Gdansk was just awful. The Leicester game, okay, we played the Resis because we were rested. We'd had the game postponed. Liverpool, back to our full strength team after having a break, awful. Helped them get Champions League football, which could come back to bite us. I mean, there were a lot of performances where you go, what is going on with this team? But you're making excuses. Oh, we've had a game postponed. Oh, he's resting players. Oh, we're not going to win the league. We're not going to finish third. We're sort of stuck in second, so there's not so much to play for. And now you look back and you're thinking that was the beginning of things starting to go a little bit wrong for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a sort of irreversible way.
Chelsea winning the Champions League put so much pressure on United to sack Solskjaer as well, because Lampard and Ole were sort of twinned at birth almost, weren't they? They were like joined at the hip. Ex-legend, coming back, not really got the experience to warrant the job, but they've done well since they've been there and they've got it. And then Lampard was sacked, Chelsea going to win the Champions League. We've got to do the same with Ole. So the pressure was on him so much at the start of the season, especially from not winning the Europa League, especially what Chelsea done with Tuchel. And then it's worse, and he's sacked. And now we can't get it back. We can't turn it around.
I almost think the giddiness at the start of the season from playing sides like Leeds and Newcastle and signing Ronaldo didn't help Solskjaer, because the expectation was almost raised. It was like, all right, well, we'll play Leeds first game of the season, who United always beat because it's Bielsa and it plays into that style perfectly. And then they play Newcastle and they sign Ronaldo.
That, I mean, as a fan though, and I've done it, I'm guilty. It is difficult to say because I hate Leeds so much, honestly, and to batter him again. And we missed out because we weren't in the ground for the 6-2. It was amazing. Then we love Ronnie. You sign him. You know, you can't help yourself. You do get euphoric about it, especially when it looked like he was going to go to the 8.
2 goals on his debut.
Yeah, and you're thinking, you know what? We finished second. We signed Ronaldo and Varane and Sanchez. Why can't we win the league? You get carried away, and you know, I'm as guilty of it as anyone, so I'm not going to pretend I'm not. I'll get in some of the chats in the comments. Scott Harrison says, I give up this season. Pathetic. I feel your pain, brother. Sorry, just let me... Alexander says, is the amount of time Bruno spends diving and looking for fouls a problem? I don't think it is. No, I don't think he dives. I think he makes a meal when he gets kicked. Abdul Ibrahim says, the problem with us is the defensive line sits too deep when the ball is cleared. Minimising vertical space for the opposition is fundamental. There's no urgency to push up or press from the front. Jonathan Aiden, I think your message is gone. Anthony Jones, poor midfield performance game after game. Team not fit enough to finish the game at the same tempo. Max 30 to 45 minutes of pressing, then back to 2 loose passes. Booting the ball, this team needs a lot of work to get a 90-minute performance.
That booting the ball up in the air is like children playing football. The amount of times balls just boot it, and we never even get any distance on it. It just goes straight up in the air. Like Rashford did it loads, I said earlier. Cavani did it 3 or 4 times today. Fred doing it. You're booting the ball straight up in the air like a child.
Joel Eaton says, James Acaster makes some great points. JCG994 says, Donny came on and played better than Fred and Matic in the 5 minutes he had.
5 minutes.
How much do you think, does fitness come into it? We had a quote from Roy Keane up earlier. You know, United tired. We did tire. You could see that.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously Villa have got the crowd behind them and they played a bit high tempo. Is that an excuse? Or is that
I think the opposite's happened when Solskjaer came in and he made United one of the fittest teams in the league.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't understand how you can go from that.
There's the quote. You can see that on your screen. Yeah. Roy Keane talks about United being tired. Because we did tire, didn't we? And when you say tired, we look knackered. And also, it's that whole, you get... tired, mental fatigue, where you just, like you're saying, you're just kicking it.
Diving in out time and time again.
We did go from in the first 15 minutes looking like a cohesive sort of team where we were playing it about that, to at the end there looking like 1980s Wimbledon. Like just, who fit and jumping.
Like Neil Warnock.
Yeah, it was. Any tackle is a 2-footed dive in. Any pass is a clearance.
Yeah, but the thing, and obviously this is slightly facetious, but at least with Neil Warnock, you would be defensively sound.
Yeah.
You'd win fucking corners. You'd score a goal from a corner. Like, any manager of average sort of old-fashioned British hard tackling, winning headers mentality would at least score a fucking corner this
Neil
season.
Warnock, the job is yours if you want it.
No, and I'm not saying that. You know what I mean?
I know you did say you did.
No solidity, no cohesion to any of it. At least like just those kind of shout a lot and get the team spirit up managers, get players running.
Brodemond says 2 goalkeepers on the bench, Martial at home. I mean,
what was he going to do today?
But even that,
sorry, Martial.
No, but do you know what? Right, I'm not saying Martial would have changed that game, but it's an indication of where we're at as a club.
Yeah.
Our player who's on 250k a week, who was our top scorer 2 seasons ago, is on the bet, is at home, and we've got 2 goalkeepers on the bet because that's how badly we're run. Yeah. We're run so badly, we can't sell a 25-year-old who scored 23 goals in a season 2 seasons ago because we've given him such a massive wage. Yeah. We can't ship him out when he wants to go because that just indicates and is a symptom of how poorly this football club is run.
The thing is that when United signed Sanchez, that had such a massive implication for everyone else because of Sanchez, Herrera lives on a free transfer. Other players like Jones, for example, are given massive contracts. United have got a lot of players.
We've never replaced Ander Herrera. People don't like because he's back. Oh, he wanted the money and all that. Ander Herrera would be a better addition to our midfield than what we've got now. I don't care.
Herrera and McTominay would be a decent midfield.
Our best midfield for the last few years was when we had Matic, Herrera, and Pogba playing as a 3. Jonathan Alden says, "What's your opinion on Greenwood? For me, too selfish in final third and so lazy with tracking back and pressing. Needs to learn to be a team player." Joe,
I do think that's why he gets subbed. I think the reason he gets subbed is because off the ball he isn't good enough. I think like the greed in the final third thing, he is a bit, but I don't really mind it. At least he's having shots. At least he's doing something. Too many times we're like looking up, and then we just lose the ball. I like that he's greedy. I like that he wants to have shots and he wants to do something.
Do you know what?
It's the tracking back, I think, why he gets subbed a lot.
For me, and I it's a bugbear of mine, him constantly getting subbed. Play him up front. He's a striker.
Yeah.
You could have took Cavani off there, put Mason up front, and not ask Mason to track back. Ask Mason to be an outlet for you, because he'll always be an outlet.
Yeah.
You can fire a ball over the top and he'll get on the end of it, whereas maybe Cavani, especially in 80th minute, he's 34, won't. So I'm not insecure. I don't agree. I agree with what you're saying about he don't track back enough, but I think you can adapt that. And play him as a striker because he is a striker.
He's still developing as well as a player. He's people forget how young he is, and the same almost applies for Rashford, who's a bit older now. But he's not going to be as consistent as you want him to be because he's still fulfilling that potential it has as a player. He's not going to get you 30 goals a season.
I mean, look at where I don't want to do this, but I'll do it anyway. Look at where all the top strikers in the world were when they were 20. Forget Kylian Mbappe, he's an outlier. Where was Harry Kane when he was 20? Where was Alan Shearer when he was 20? Ian Wright? Where was Jamie Vardy when he was 20? Jamie Vardy was on a bricklaying when he was 20.
Yeah.
So Mason Green was 20 and people are writing him off already. I'm not saying the kid who's just done that comment is, but some commentators aren't. It's ridiculous. Abhinav Verma, De Gea kicking didn't help at all.
There's a point where he gave away, I think, 5 kicks in a row, either out for a throw-in or straight to a Villa player.
Yeah.
That doesn't help.
I don't think
pressure doing that.
This sort of instant gratification helps as well of United fans online. And I know the performances aren't good enough at the minute, but always expected everyone to, like, almost if they're robots, to always play well. And with Greenwood, like, he's not going to play that consistently because he's 20 years old. He's a year older than I am.
Yeah. He's 22 years younger than me. Trigger effect. Ralph calls the draw. Matt Fred should have been subbed. Tina to Lefton to Totka, thanks for your super chat. Arjun Hendricks, member for the first team for 30 months, thanks for your support, says you can have a decent defence and great strikers, but if you don't have a decent midfield, there's no hope. On another note, would Jude Bellingham fit in? You're the expert on Jude Bellingham, would he?
Bellingham. He'd obviously play. He'd fit in this team, wouldn't he?
I think he makes a difference, I just do.
Yeah, I do.
Madak Malik says, are we going in the direction of Barca? All these average players on high wages will eventually get to us.
The difference with us and Barca is we don't waste money quite the same. We aren't in the debt that they are.
No.
We don't just throw away money on crazy
There has
transfers.
been an element of a lot of our transfers being towards the younger market.
Yeah.
Right? So when you
they've got the opposite
Diallo
problem.
and Palestri, they've got a bit of a sell on value where
Barcelona sold one of their best players, whereas United have just bought crap. So it's, what Barcelona did was they sold Neymar and went, oh shit, we need to replace him, and they spent it on Dembele and Coutinho. Whereas United have done the opposite, which just buy players for positions that they don't need and then can't sell them. Like United have got so many players in their squad that are still here.
This is what me and you were saying, because me and you were having, is it what's that kid called? I always forget, the 6 million kid from Zakaria. Like, well, should we not just get him? He's only 6 million. We've got such a big squad anyway of these sort of average type players. Like, do we need another £6 million kid who's
we
probably
can't
going
get
to
rid of
be
Pereira.
behind Donny van der Beek in the pecking order?
Yeah.
Does that solve any issue? Even though he is only pennies, I just think that we need someone to come in who's good enough for the midfield. I think the thumbnail
midfield
says
is
it
the
all.
most important part of the team. Obviously,
Yeah.
I know people know this, but
He's
you can get away with having a striker.
Ralph's already beginning to look like he's going the way of
he's
Mourinho
aged.
2018. Naresh Mukunsi says, the first 25 minutes was the effects of the Ronaldo interview. The next 65 summed up our season.
Yep.
Pains me to be a fan at the minute. Mohamed Jabbar says, for so much of control, keyword, I'm sure we lack it. The ball always seems to be bouncing around when we have possession. Yep. Some of the plays seem like the games we play here in our turf. There is no one signing to fix now. And also, hang on a minute. Sorry. Tenzin Alexis, sack the player. Sack the players, sorry, not the manager or something. I can't see that, sorry. Wazoo07 says, Rice, Bellingham and Valverde would be on my CM wish list. We do need a CM, don't we? I think everyone agrees with that. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the chat and the comments. James, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at JamesYoungTV. Also can be found selling United We Stand outside Old Trafford on home matches. So
Support the fanzines. Make sure you check it out. Give us a subscribe if you're not doing as well. Subscribe to the channel. Joe, what are you up to next? When you're next on the channel, what are you doing?
I'll be here on Monday.
Good lad. That's what
the
I like to hear.
podcast.
Paddock podcast, and make sure you check it out. That's been James. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. And what's been a disappointing afternoon at Villa Park. Thanks for watching.